When change comes knocking, when experienced employees retire, when unexpected crises arise, and even when the next great business opportunity presents itself, helping organizations like yours strengthen employee and customer relationships, elevate employee engagement, and improve bottom-line business results. That's what I do.
Trying not to change is like trying not to breathe. If you're successful, you die.
Tell the truth. You don't want to be brutally honest and therefore just cast other people's emotions or feelings aside, but on the other hand, you never want to be dishonest. Never want to be dishonest. Tell the truth. He looked at my son, that doctor did. He looked at my son and said, Joe, this is going to what? Hurt. Now, if he would have said to my son, Joe, this won't hurt a bit, at that moment in time, there's no reason that Joe would have not believed that. He'd never had stitches before, never had shots in his chin. You know, I'll assume that Joe would have believed him if he said it wouldn't have hurt. But at the very instant, at the very moment that needle pierced flesh, at the moment that those nerve endings came alive and shipped that message to the brain, that's pain! At that moment, Joe is saying to himself, he, what? Lied, and therefore whatever else he has told me, I can no longer believe. Our integrity, our credibility, our believability is too important for us to risk that. You know, how many times have you ever gone into a bank or someplace like that where they have teller lines, right? And you go in and there's 5, 10, 20 tellers wide open. This can also be at a retail place or whatever. And you walk up and all of them are empty. There's nobody in there at all. And you walk up, they all look up, they see you at the same time. What do they do en masse? With the thought, maybe if I drop my eyes, he won't see me. Maybe he'll take maybe he'll take his business elsewhere. You know what I've always said? I want to walk in a bank one time in my life, one time where that's the scenario, and somebody goes, hey, over here! Don't go over there, over here! I'm the one that offers the best service. Wouldn't that be cool? It'd be unforgettable, and I'd be talking about it for years. What? Because I'd be wowed. Leadership is not position. Leadership is two things. The ability to offer service and the willingness to take action. We've got to challenge ourselves to look into the future and to see an opportunity where others only see frustration. If you did nothing else over the next year until the next time you gather for these supervisory leadership sessions, if you did nothing else except say, I'm going to work on enhancing my communication with my followers, with my employees. If you did nothing else, I guarantee you your evaluations as a leader, as a supervisor in your particular department would go up. I use engaging stories, real-world illustrations, and a touch of humor in all my keynote presentations and training sessions. But entertainment is not the name of my game. I know you must have sensible solutions and strategies that deliver performance and profitability for your business. Through relevant illustrations, audience members can identify and apply the common sense solutions I share to improve their specific situation. Well, I'm speaking to IBM. Oh, IBM. I've heard of IBM. How many people? I said, well, they tell me somewhere in excess of 2,000. 2,000 people? You're standing here in just a few minutes, you're going to be speaking to 2,000. Aren't you nervous? I went, well, I wasn't, but apparently there's still time. And so she was showing interest in me. And she said, sir, do you mind if I've never met a speaker before. Do you mind if I ask you a couple of questions? Now, we all like to talk about it, somewhere deep about ourselves, somewhere deep inside of us. That's important to us. And I said, no, I'd love for you to ask any question, whatever you'd like. She said, well, I guess the first question is what does it take to become a professional speaker? Now, I didn't go into that tie shop with a ready-made answer for that question, but I did, in fact, I could answer that question after years of doing it. I said, well, to be a professional speaker, you have to have a subject and have a certain level of expertise on that subject. And you got to have a certain amount of talent and preparedness, etc. And I went on through it. And after giving her 4 or 5 points that it took to be a professional speaker, I then sort of summarized as professional speakers will do. And therefore, those are the things that you need to do to be a professional speaker. Now, the whole time she's just looking at me so intently, never even blinking. She's just hanging on every word. And when I finish, there's the thing. She says, "Sir, is it possible you forgot one?" I'm thinking to myself, I just made it up. It's possible I forgot a lot. But I didn't admit that. I said, "Well, it's possible. Why? Do you think I've forgotten one?" And she said, "Well, I kept expecting you to say one more characteristic that it takes to be a professional speaker." And I said, "What would that be?" And she said, "Uniqueness." She said, "I just thought you would probably say it's important to be unique if you're a speaker because you don't want to be like every other speaker." And I went, "You're right. You're absolutely right." I said, "How did I overlook that one?" "You're right. You don't want to have the same message or the same delivery. You don't want to have the same presence as other speakers. You want to be uniquely you." "You're right. You're exactly right. Thank you for correcting me. You're right. A professional speaker needs to be unique." She looks at me, smiles. She said, "Sir, could I ask you to step over here for just a second?" She led me to another rack of ties. And she pointed not to the rack, to a tie. That tie. She says, "Sir, what do you think of that tie?" And I must tell you, I didn't think much of that tie. However, I thought a lot of her. And so I didn't want to tell her what I thought of her tie because she had already earned my respect, at least to some degree. And I said something like, "Well, it's an interesting tie." She immediately said, "That tie, sir, is a one-of-a-kind tie. There is no other tie like that in the world." And that's the part that set me off. "Hold on, stop right there, young woman. I thank you. I don't mean to be rude, but don't tell me that. I go to these tie shops all the time. I know these ties." She said, "Don't tell me it's a one." "Sir," she interrupted me. "Sir, please, I don't mean to be rude either. However, I must tell you, that is a one-of-a-kind tie." Now, I happen to have the tie with me. All right? Now, I don't know if the camera can pick it up or not, but this tie has a number of different colors: yellow, purple, blue, green, gray, black. No distinct pattern, sort of a swirl pattern. And if you were to feel it, it has kind of a unique texture. She says, "Sir, that is a seaweed and silk tie." She said, "I can't explain all of it, but I can explain some of it. This tie is manufactured in one particular plant in northern Italy. It's manufactured with the finest of Italian silks and seaweed drawn from the bottom of the Mediterranean Sea." She says, "Sir, do not ask me how they do it, but I know they take that unique combination. They take the seaweed, they take the silk together, they put it together, and every tie that is produced, every one is unique in its own way, color, texture, design, etc." And then she paused and looked at me and said, "And I just thought a one-of-a-kind speaker ought to have a one-of-a-kind tie." I'm not going to tell you how much I paid for that tie. I will tell you it's more than I intended to pay for any tie, any time. However, she had taken the time to understand me. And then I gladly gave her what she wanted because she was positioning me to get what I wanted. When I had her take a hold of my shoulders, even as a young boy, I remember thinking, well, she needs to brace. But then the next thing I realized was there was pressure on my shoulders, and she was getting down. And she was holding me to brace, but not for the reason I wanted. And eventually, she ended up in this position right here. Now, it was the first time in my young life that my grandmother and I had ever been what? Eye to eye. On the same level, if you were. Now, I didn't understand this at the time. I didn't know what was happening, but I liked it. I liked it. I can even remember as a young boy thinking, this is special. Pay close attention. This may not happen again. And as my grandmother's holding my shoulders, as she's looking deep into my eyes and as I'm returning that gaze, she said something to me some 50 plus years ago that I have never forgotten that I'm about to share with you now. She looked in my eyes and she said, "Shut up!" I wasn't expecting that. And quite frankly, I tried to recoil. I tried to run from her, and her tight grip tightened. And she actually drew me to her breast. And when she did, she wrapped her arms around me. And you can believe this or not, but I'm telling you the truth. Even this morning, I can still feel the compression in my mind's eye of that day. And when she had me totally immobilized, She whispered these words in my ear. Son, don't you realize that when you're talking, you never learn anything? It's only when you're willing to shut up and listen that you might just learn something. My leadership and management experience in high-pressure industries, from manufacturing to mining to financial services and beyond, combined with over 900 unique client experiences, have revealed time-tested methods that increase employee performance and productivity while ensuring customers and stakeholders are happy. I look forward to the opportunity to work with you to inspire and equip your people and to ultimately transform your business. If that's your goal too, let's talk.